Hey, how you doing today? You guys doing all right? Well, that's wonderful. This is Stone Thug, and like the title say, we have a fantastic, extraordinary, unique story to tell today, and the story is a true story, absolutely, positively, 100% accurate and truthful. And I have to say it that way because it's so, should I say, it's such a fantastic tale. It might be hard for somebody to believe that this actually happened. But it is true. And this is a story of how Stone Thug saved the space program. Now you say, yeah, right. Stone Thug saved the space program. Maybe a comedy CD. Maybe a rap record. But Stone Thug really saving the space program? That's a bit far-fetched. But actually it's not. You see, basically, and this all will be detailed more in the book and the CD that we have coming out. And those items would have all the documentation. So you're welcome to, and you're encouraged to, get the CD, get the booklet that has all the documentation. And there's documentation to be had. Newspaper articles, letters back and forth from NASA, the White House, and so forth. But now on to the story. See, me, Stone Thug, I'm a man of faith. Yeah, I use a lot of explicit language sometime in my comedy or my CDs or my books or movies. But at the end of the day, I'm just a God-fearing young man. And one particular time, years ago, after the Challenger explosion, which was many years ago, the space program was shut down in regards to civilian passengers. They did not allow civilian passengers to travel on the space shuttles anymore because it was such a public relations disaster when it happened. It caught everybody off guard. The program had been shut down for 11 years up to that time. President Clinton was the president, and being a man of faith as I was, as I stated earlier, I wanted to try to ask God for the hardest miracle that I could possibly conceive of. And the one that I thought of was, in the Bible, it has a story where it says, or a challenge, I say, it says, is anything too hard for God? Is anything too hard for God? Well, I thought, and I said, you know what would be too hard for God? For me and my missus to go into space. So, once you got the faith to think of something like that, you have to sort of put it into practice. So what I did was I wrote a letter to NASA and I asked them, hey, look, you guys haven't did the space program in a while. Well, why don't you guys, well, this was after a long prayer, of course. I said, why don't you guys reintroduce the space program? And, me and my missus, being that we're in the film industry and whatever, we would like to go into space. You can start the program back with us. Well, they thought it was an amusing letter, and they wrote us back and they let us know 100% that they spoke with the Congress, and the Congress agreed with the president, and everybody agreed that this was not the time to do anything with the space program in regards to surpass passengers that were non-space personnel. So we having some connections to the White House because of what happened with Hillary Clinton and the school program. We decided to use our connections and write to her and let her know that, hey, the space program is something that needs to be reinitiated when it comes to civilian passengers, and that we'd like to be on there. So basically, we wrote the First Lady, and she wrote us back and let us know that she had forwarded our letter to the space program. And the space program people wrote us back and sent us nice booklets and stuff regarding space and the Challenger. And they say, hey, look, in so many words, I'm paraphrasing here. We appreciate your interest in the space program, but again, we have no plans to reinitiate the space program. We can't. The president and everybody has agreed that the space program at this time will not be reinitiated. So, me still being full of faith and still challenging God to this impossible deed, what I did at that time was I wrote President Clinton himself. Now, if you recall, President Clinton at that time, during the lame duck session of his final days of the presidency, he was involved in quite a thick controversy regarding this young gal. He had been going back and forth to Africa and other places and, just trying to wait till things cool down while, his end of his presidency was coming up. So after writing him, this letter was a powerful letter we put together. And there was a few more letters involved, but that's all in the book and the CD. But this is the short version for you guys for now. The letter basically entailed that, hey, look, money has been spent on the space program, and the public is not getting justification for their tax dollars. President Clinton, you can reinitiate the space program, and by doing so, you would get credit for it. If you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. So I strongly recommend that you do it, and you do it quickly while you can. Because in the lame duck session of the presidency, final days, you really can't do a whole lot of big things. So we sent this letter repeatedly through different sources to the White House. Well, one thing led to another. Somebody thought, hey, maybe this is a good idea. We can get credit for it, and we can take the country's mind off of what it's thinking about right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, voila. The space program was reinitiated, and by that time, I found out that the missus was having a baby. So, my little son, which is a big boy now, was coming, and my wife wouldn't be able to participate in the space program. So, I backed out. Not that they were ever going to really consider me, but they definitely considered the idea, and all of the people back in space, regular civilians that is because we wrote to the president. He spoke to the space program through newspapers and other articles we found out, and those guys reinitiated the space program, and because it was a public relations thing, they decided to go with John Glenn, send him into space, back into space, but it was on our dime. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that fantastic story. It's a true story. And because I backed out, because the wife couldn't go, because she was pregnant, in my mind, God not only fulfilled that thought, is there anything too hard for God? But he proved that there's not anything on this earth that's too hard for God to do. And I give him full glory and honor. And everybody who rides the Space Challenger, or Challenger, of course, that's not here anymore, and Endeavour is parked. But all the Russian vehicles and all those other things, or the people from Branson, they can thank Stone Thug and the Lord, that is, for getting the space program back up and running regarding civilian passengers. Okay, so information will be in the bottom, so you can see how you get the CD, which would show more details, and also the booklet with all the letters and so forth. For a small donation, you can have all of that. All right, that's it. Take care. Until the next fantastic story. This is Stone Thug. Peace.